Welcome to the Mango Effect podcast, where every week we talk about the path to living a limitless life and having the freedom to do it your way. No topics are off limits. We get into the practical, the hypothetical, and the downright juicy stuff. I'm Mindy Rosser, your host and lifestyle cheerleader, and I'm here today to talk with Sam Garcia about how to build a business that runs for you. So this is actually a recorded live stream, so the audio will sound different. I did my best to clean it up, but I know it's not going to be as perfect as the actual podcast itself. So do bear with me, but I think there is a lot to be learned for those of you who are entrepreneurs, whether you are pretty seasoned and you're like, Mindy, I'm trying to get to the next level in my business. I'm trying to scale. I'm having a lot of trouble getting to that 7-figure mark or the multiple 6 figures. We all go through these different points in our businesses and in our careers. There's a lot to be learned, even if you are applying a lot of what Sam talks about to your career as well. So really figuring out systems, automation, a little bit of woo too. So for those of you who do like woo, we talk about human design. You get to find out what my human design is as well. And it is a really fun, engaging episode. So enjoy.
Aloha. How is it? So excited today. I'm not alone. We have a special guest here today. It is Sam Garcia, and we are going to talk about what it really takes to build a business that runs for you with Sam. So we're going to have more on that in a minute. So Sam brings 8+ years of experience to dozens of 6- and 7-figure CEOs, helping them set up systems and teams they need for their business to run without them. Sam provides marketing and business coaching for, I love this, weirdo spiritual entrepreneurs and course creators. And she helps those 7-figure CEOs who are ready to elevate into the role of visionary CEO. What really stood out to me about Sam was just her focus on, I think it's a blend, like spirituality, automation and systems, like sales and business, and how all of that kind of fits together. So I'm super excited for our conversation today. And Sam, can you tell us a little bit more about yourself, about your journey, and what led you to Dirty Alchemy?
Yeah, thank you. I'm honored to be here, Mindy. Thank you so much for having me on. And are you on Kauai? I actually didn't catch which island you're on.
I'm on Oahu, so just across the street from Haleiwa. Yep.
Okay, I'm on Maui, so
not too far away.
Yeah. So I have, and thank you for the intro. That was perfect. We have Dirty Alchemy is half agency, half consulting, and we, as mentioned, worked with the weirdo spiritual entrepreneurs because that's how I really got into marketing a decade ago. Was I had this business that I really wanted to support. They had an admin position. I jumped in and, I keep on touching my mic, a marketing admin position and I just learned from there and I kept on going heart first with who I passionately really wanted to support in their business. And it's turned into some really, really cool businesses along the way. And, a lot of people have asked me over the years of like, oh, how did you end up working with this like amazing brand, this amazing business? And I was like, oh, it was because I really, really wanted to work with them. And I put my whole heart into pitching them and reaching out to them and thinking about their business, dreaming about their business. And it's really interesting how many people in the marketing space, they do this like sprinkle everywhere effect of like, I'm just going to pitch 100 people in a week and I'm just going to like follow these tactics when really when you like connect in with your heart, connect into your passion and your desire of who you want to support and going all in on those people, it has been a really smart tactic along the way. So I'll just throw that in there. Mm-hmm.
How did you actually do that? So you mentioned like instead of pitching like 100 people, did you look for, like, I'm curious, did you look for businesses that, aligned with like a mission or something inside of you, or, how did you find these people? Because I know everyone would be curious to know.
Yeah, I mean, this is 100% my journey. I'm like, this is not attractive. This is just what I've done is I am super hands-on with my clients. Like I'm 100% in their business. I have heard time and time again of people having nightmare scenarios working with agencies because they're like, oh, I can barely get a hold of them. They have horrible turnaround time, whatever, where I deeply, deeply care about the clients that I work with. And I in order for that to actually work is I have to care about their mission, which is I don't care about everyone's business. And yes, I have a team that supports me, and I'm at the helm of it, of like deciding who clients are and who we reach out to. But me going first of, wow, I'm obsessed with your mission. Wow, you're doing such cool work. Wow, you're actually changing and being innovative in what you're doing. That's been so important for me in my unique scenario with my unique business, that I want people who I'm obsessed with, because then I am thinking about it. I am excited to think about it. And I'm not just, going over here with different passions and stuff. So yeah.
That's so interesting, because I think a lot of us, especially when we first come to like the marketing or the agency world, at least for us, I know other people watching are in different spaces, but I do think a lot of us just kind of take whatever work we're given, or like somebody recommends us and we're like, I don't really care so much about it. But I think there's something really special when you actually, maybe you're not like 100% behind, you don't want to work full time for that company, but you can be an asset and you believe in what they're doing for their space. And I feel like those mission driven companies, they're so much more rewarding to work with. I have been working with one, I think like going on 7-8 years now, the same company. And I just love what they do and what they stand for. And so for me, it's really easy to market them and like kind of support them in that way, because it's like, I care what you're doing. I can see how you are helping your customers and your clients. And it's a win-win situation, I think, when you are aligned with your businesses. But you do have to be picky, and you have to be choosy, and you can't just take the easy dollar or, just the ones that come your way if you don't feel it. So when you are presented with opportunities and they don't quite fit, like how do you handle those types of scenarios, or have you had to encounter that much?
Yeah, I mean, another side of going after dream clients is they're often larger businesses or more well-known in this space. And they can be it can actually be this amazing strategy of, once you work with one more, I call them unicorn clients. When you work with one unicorn client, other people will actually be attracted to work with you because you have supported this amazing person who has name recognition or who's doing things differently. So it has been a great strategy. But for people who come that aren't necessarily aligned, I have other businesses that I love referring people to. So, and you can do referral partnerships and affiliate kickbacks and all of that stuff, but that's just been a simple one for me.
Yeah, I love referral partners and just being able to, I think, build that. And I talk about that a lot here on the show too, just kind of building your network with those people, because you never know. And then they may not be a good fit for you, but you know somebody who they are a really great fit for, and you can refer them, and then everyone wins. So I love that approach. Now kind of talking about shifting gears a little bit and talking about systems. Like, I'm so curious because you are really big, from what I can see, you're very big on systems. And why do systems matter? A little bit of confession time. I'm not the best at systems. Like, I've gotten better over time, but for me, systems have always been a bit tricky to kind of figure out, especially I have, most of my clients are like in the agency space too, they're agency clients. And so there need to be some really specific systems in place to manage them, but also like there's a level of personalization. Like every client is just a little bit different in what we need to do, so I would really be curious to hear, first of all, why systems matter and why you say that it's the sexiest part of your business.
So first of all, a lot of the people that I tend to work with, I work with more creatives or neurodiverse people. And that's a lot of entrepreneurs and people who are doing innovative stuff in the online space. They often have ADHD or are neurodiverse in other ways. And they are so resistant to systems when it's actually the thing that can help their business move forward and give them so much more freedom back. So why I say that systems are often the sexiest part of our business is because it gives you your time back, and it actually allows you to have all of this extra space in your life to take care of yourself, to not freak out your nervous system, which is key for, feeling a little sexy, and also being able to channel your best work, because it's so funny. There's like this, I feel like it's a really unspoken thing around female entrepreneurs of how many women who are in high powered positions, or even if you're a solopreneur, they have zero libido. Like they have just like, I don't know if this is appropriate to talk about on here, but you're laughing. So I'm just is so common. It's so unspoken how many high-powered women have completely lost their libido because they're so stressed out and because they've had to like fucked up their hormones. They've switched things around. And so why I always say that systems are the sexiest part of your business is you can actually get your time back. You can actually be able to take care of yourself. And with the clients that I tend to work with, which usually are spiritual and creative, often when they get a certain level of success, they suddenly they don't have the time to do the work that they actually tell their audience to do the work that got them started in the first place. Suddenly they don't have time for their spiritual practices and meditation or going on forest retreats or whatever it is. They just don't have time for, or doing art for themselves versus for their work. So actually putting in systems so that you can get significantly more time back is the way that you can take care of yourself and actually get your business to the next level, because you're not going to, your best work, the stuff that is going to be the thing that you're known for in the long run, isn't going to come through when you're incredibly exhausted and stressed out.
Yeah, I can definitely agree. And just on the front of just being too exhausted for anything else, I think business can sometimes do that to us, especially, I don't know if I would consider myself the most creative business owner, but I have my flashes of creativity here and again. But still the systems I think are key, because once you actually kind of figure out, at least for me, once I've figured out that system, it's like, oh, okay, it does free up so much time and bandwidth, and we do have more space to be creative. For example, like, recently, I've really wanted to work on a book, and I was like, okay. So it's so difficult though to create that headspace and that time and space, because it's a special time and space, and it requires a different headspace than running a business. And so you do have to be so strategic. But when you can actually put those systems in place and kind of free up a little bandwidth with the client stuff, it's like, okay, I actually have, an hour, maybe 2 hours if I'm lucky, to be able to do that creative stuff that I really, truly want to do and have that, without limitation too. I think without feeling like I should be working on my business, like, are things taken care of? I'm not quite sure. So I think it's so, so important. And on that note, like, what are some key systems? Like, if somebody's like, oh, yes, I understand the need for systems. I know I need to put them in place. This sounds good, but it feels overwhelming, or I don't have enough time, or maybe I don't have a VA yet and I'm still trying to get that in place. What are the key systems they should be focusing on if they want to, scale to 6 or 7 figures and beyond?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So a lot of people, when they start a business, you think of your business as pretty much an extension of yourself, especially if you're the face of the brand and your face is everywhere on it. You're like, my business is myself. And one of the best things you can do early on in your business, or if you haven't done it yet in business, is actually thinking of your business as a separate entity than yourself. And if we want to get woo-woo here, we could say that your business is a talisman that's holding power and all these things. But actually, on the very most practical level, you can look at the federal government. It actually sees your business as a separate entity than you, right? It has you have your social security number. It has its EIN number, right? It is a separate thing. And once you start being able to do that, you can step away from your business being your baby. This thing that you have to take care of. Because in the beginning, of course, that's what's going to happen. You have to be there to feed it. You have to put all your energy in it. You're thinking about it all the time. There's so much hope and excitement there. But at some point, you want to, and usually as quickly as possible, you want to get to that next stage where, yes, you're still in your business because you are still learning the system, setting up your system, setting up your team, all these things. But it is no longer this baby. Like, maybe it's a teenager who is down in the basement that you still give allowance to, right? You still have to give it, set the boundaries for it, and make sure it's not I don't know, getting drunk at 14. Who knows, right? But what often happens is it is no longer a teenager living in your basement. It's like your 30-year-old child still living in your basement.
Not so good.
Not getting allowance from you, right?
Right.
And what you actually wanted to do is you want your business to be this thing. So it's always been separate than you. It was this baby, it's this teenager. You want it to be this grown-up adult that is that is no longer in your basement. It is maybe even taking care of you, maybe even sending you money and actually doing stuff for you. So we often, the majority of businesses I see, even if they're at 8 figures, right? They are in this, my business is sleeping in my basement phase because they can't go off for a month. This is like the telltale sign is, can you go off for a month and not check your email one time or answer your phone one time? Will your business be as successful as it was when you left? If it wasn't, then there are things that you can do because you're not free right now. Often, like so many of us get into business because we want freedom, because we want time freedom. We don't want to work for other people. But then suddenly we are the most overworked employee of our business. We're chained to the desk, right? Yep. So anyways, key systems that I like to think about is, okay, we see our business as a separate entity than us, and we want to start building up its power and building up its ability to survive without us. Okay. So one of the things, and I call these externalized energies of like, how do we actually like get this out of ourselves and put it into our business so that it can function without us? So one of them is reputation. So how can we actually take the reputation that we have and the work that we do and put it into our business? So this can look like setting up intellectual property, right? Having those podcasts, having your book written, having blogs that are attracting people to your business, having testimonials, having your core offer. So suddenly, like you can see people being like, oh, that person is so cool. And then they put out an amazing program that suddenly everyone talks about. Like in the online marketing space, you know the name Jeff Walker, and he made product launch formula. Like product launch formula, that is its own thing on its own. It is like, sure, Jeff Walker created it and is the face of it, but like that in and of itself has its own gravitas. It has its own reputation that people know about, right? This is what we want within our business. So even if Jeff Walker dies tomorrow, his business is fine. Product launch formula is still going to keep going. It's not something that will die with him. And another one is money. So I've met so many people who are very successful in their business, but they still haven't created their own separate business bank account. And they're ashamed of this.
A little bit embarrassing.
Yeah. It's like, okay, if you're a solopreneur, I get it, but you actually, I mean, just for ease of taxes sake, thinking of your business as it have its own money. Your business's money is not your money. Sure, you pay yourself a salary. Sure, you pay yourself extras with profit, but it is going through your business first. It is your business's money, not your own. And this is this other way of like separating ourselves from our business so that it can become more powerful on its own. And I mean, that looks like maybe having a 6-month emergency fund, your business having it. I mean, are we through COVID? Who knows?
I'm not sure yet either.
And like so many businesses shut down during it because they didn't have the very basic business advice of your business having 6 months or 12 months or at least 3 months, right, of expenses, operating expenses without it. And that's not a stretch. It's like very traditional business advice. Because we just think of our business as money as our own when it's not. So having those in place, team is so important. And if you are a solopreneur, like I promise I have something to say about this, but when you actually start growing a team and having people who can do the work for you, it allows you to amplify your time. Because let's say you work 40 hours a week and you love working 40 hours a week. You love your business. You want to keep doing it. And maybe you don't, but I'm just in this scenario. Suddenly when you hire someone else, you now have a pool of 80 hours a week to work from that your business has. And then it was you hire another person. Okay, that's another 20 hours a week. That is time amplified when you actually start building out your team. When you're a solopreneur and you're not ready to hire a virtual assistant even at 5 hours a week, what can be powerful here is almost thinking of it yourself as these multiple identities of yourself of, okay, now I'm putting my CEO hat on. Now I'm putting my assistant hat on. Now I'm putting my marketer hat on. And if you can actually start seeing yourself not as just you in these roles, but like as these separate roles, it's going to be so much easier in the future for you to actually give those tasks away. Because one of the hardest things when entrepreneurs start hiring, especially for a business that they love so much, and like, I pulled it through, and like, you get so afraid that the people that you hire don't actually care about your business or won't do it as well as you. When you are actually able to separate these tasks as needed by your business, is you're supposed to be hiring people that are supporting your business, not who you're good friends with, not who are going to support you. They're supporting your business, right?
Yep.
So the team and getting your team in is really huge. I mean, it's not a system, but it empowers the systems. And just the two most basic systems you want in your business, if I'm super simplifying it, is marketing and sales being one. I'm just glomming them on into each other. And then delivery and expertise. And these are going to be very different depending on what kind of business you have, right? So like on the delivery side, if you have an agency like we do, you need to be able to hire people who do what you do, even if it is this high level expertise. So how do we actually get that high level expertise out of your brain and train other people to do it? So you can go on that month-long vacation, right? Or if you are a course creator or a coach, how do we actually get that stuff out of your brain and put it into intellectual property in your business and systematize all the delivery? And a lot of people get afraid here, or some people can get afraid here around it's not going to be as effective that way. But this is really the opportunity for you to actually bake in the most powerful elements of your work into these systems, so that your clients are more consistent at getting amazing results. Like, I mean, here's another sexy side of systems, right? Is more people will be more consistently getting amazing results, and you will be in turn building that amazing reputation that you want to be building so that it is easier to sell in the future. And then on that marketing and sales side of things, I'm someone who believes there's a gazillion ways to market. There's not one way. You actually leaning into your own desire around marketing is so important. So the systems that you develop around marketing, sure, you can buy someone else's systems around marketing, but most people who have the easiest and leanest time, like they spend the least amount of money attracting in clients, are just following their own desire around marketing and sales and what actually excites them. So first you need to identify those, and then you can actually systematize them. And that often looks like looking at metrics. Actually, after doing a campaign, and so many creatives hate this, is, okay, you do this marketing campaign, or you do this Facebook ad campaign, or you do a launch, and then 90% of people that I talk to, they never look at their numbers. They're like, don't look at any of their email open rates. They don't look at like what was the best creative, or like did they A/B test anything. They often do A/B test things, but then they just never look at the results after the fact. But you actually being able to make your passion-driven choices systems in your business requires you to actually look at the results you got from that campaign that you ran. So I'll stop there.
Oh, that is so good. I think what I really like was you're talking about the desire. And going with your desire in sales and marketing. And that I wanted to go a little deeper there, because that is something I talk with a lot of people about when I'm like doing one-on-one coaching or group coaching, or even my clients I'm doing most of it for them, but they still want to understand. And why are we doing these approaches? Because I've noticed a lot of clients I have, like a lot of them want to be like involved. Like they love because we do a lot of LinkedIn focused programs. So a lot of it is back and forth DMs. Some of them like to hop into the DMs and answer themselves. And that's really where they build those relationships with clients, potential prospects, and have that back and forth. Others really would rather do more broadcasting and write really great content, and kind of it's a megaphone approach versus like, oh, I want to be busy in the DMs, and they don't really feel like they have time, so I'm keeping an eye on the DMs to make sure. But these are important things I think to know about yourself, and also like if we are helping clients in these ways to understand what their desires are and how they best communicate and what their styles are. Because some people are just all over the place, and when you try to pick a system that doesn't work, or it doesn't work well for you, it's kind of a recipe for disaster. It's just not jiving, and you don't want to do it. And I think there's a lot of resistance around that. So how do you actually help people find their desire, or like, oh, okay, these types of approaches to marketing and sales might work for you because of X, Y, or Z?
Yeah. I mean, okay. So again, with the preface that I work with a lot of highly spiritual people is one thing I love looking at is human design. Are you familiar with human design?
Ooh, yes, I am. Okay.
I'm like, why? You probably know human design. What is it? What's your energy type?
Oh, I'm a manifesting generator.
Okay, great. And so manifesting generators, reasons why you want to have systems in your business, because there's a lot of you. I tend to work with projectors and manifesting generators. These two people are the most attracted to my work because they realize that, like with a manifesting generator, you have so many passions, you're going out in so many different directions. If you keep bopping around and don't fill up systems on the back end, like this thing over here, it's like a plant that you forget to water, right? It's just like dead. Yeah. So we look at stuff like human design. I have an astrologer on my team where we like plan out full on launches around astrological timing, and we look at your natal chart and how do you actually do leadership within your business based on your astrology, and how do we actually follow that stuff. So we do kind of more personal trait things within the team and invite people to do that if they're not working directly with us. But a lot of it is being willing to experiment if you don't know yet. So often if you're at 7 or 8 figures, you either have a team that is making a lot of decisions around the marketing, or you have already found out where your passions lie. For people who are just getting started in business, it is so much of an invitation around you need to experiment. You need to try 100 things. You need to go and write 100 posts in a month and see what you're most excited about talking about and how people react to it and respond to it. So a lot of it is experimentation, and a lot of it is deconditioning around people actually trusting their own passions and desires. But if you actually start following it and taking action and giving yourself this playground around, I get to just play around right now and see what works, and it being safe to do so, like that's where you just have to go and do it, right?
I love that because I am all about experiments. And that's something I'm working on in my book too, and just kind of talking about like running experiments, like, well, where do you want to live? I don't know. I've lived a lot of places, kind of figuring out your environment, like what type of style of work do you want to do? What should your morning routines be? I mean, it can go beyond business. I think it's just the open-mindedness when it comes to running experiments, because a lot of times we like to not fail. We want to like go into the experiment knowing what the outcome is going to be. And we want like this reassurance, like, oh, we're doing the right thing. We're going to get exactly what we want. And we have to realize like some things are going to work and some things are just not going to work. And that's okay. That's part of the discovery process. And as business owners, as business leaders, we have to go into things just, I think, with an open mind. But also I think there's also that element of safety. Where you want to be calculated in the experiment you run. I've worked with people that have gone a little too far off the deep end, like, oh, well, I went in and I spent tens of thousands of dollars on meta ads, and I didn't get any. And then well, that was your first launch. Maybe let's put things back, because I think there's a balance to running experiments. So I think that guidance in advance, like having someone like you to help them figure out, okay, here's a good experiment to run. Here are some things that you can try at the beginning, operating within, I think, that safe zone, where you can experiment, but you're not, putting yourself on a ledge or kind of crossing your fingers, hoping it works, or you're sunk, So I think there's a balance there too.
So true. So good.
Well, okay. A couple more questions. What are the two different, I think you mentioned there are 2 different types of CEOs. And so I want to hear more about that, and then how to not fall into the trap of being your most overworked employee, which you've kind of touched on, like wearing all of the different hats and trying to fill all the roles. But, obviously if we want to scale, we only have so many hours in a week. And I really liked your point on team and how you were amplifying time with just like each person. I hadn't thought of it in that way, where each person is like adding another 40 hours into the time allotment. So CEOs and kind of how not to be overworked. Yeah.
So this is actually a study from the Harvard Business Review. They pretty much looked at a bunch of I don't know what industry they were in. I think it was across a bunch of different industries, but they were looking at CEOs and just studying CEOs. And they found that there's 2 different types of CEO. There's the CEO manager and the CEO visionary. So, or manager CEO, visionary CEO. The manager CEO is kind of what you would think of from the name, right? It's someone who is the head of the business, but their hands are in everything, right? They're helping in the day-to-day process of the business. And then the visionary CEO is kind of what we classically think of when we think like CEO, like top of the C-suite, top of the building, all that stuff. And what they found is that they're looking at productivity and profitability. And they found that the most productive companies were run by visionary CEOs. So the ones with the team that was the most productive had visionary CEOs on the top of it. And the ones with the businesses that were the most profitable also had visionary CEOs at the top of it. So if you're someone who likes to be in control, and
don't raise your hands now,
and you have a team that you're micromanaging, just think that your team and your business is probably less productive than it could be and less profitable than it could be. And I've seen this with clients actually so much during COVID and with maternity leave, in the sense that like I've had multiple clients jump to their next level of business, like going from multiple 6 to 7 figures, or like to the next multiple 7-figure level when they went on maternity leave. So they're gone for 3 months. They literally have to give everything away, and suddenly their business gets to the next level because they were still in some way being that manager CEO. And when they actually went away and allowed their team to do what they were going to do and solve the fires and whatever, it actually allowed their business to be more productive. And I had another client during the pandemic, she had to homeschool her kids. So she had 2 kids come home. So she had a very limited amount of time that she could actually work on her business. And they had been multiple 6 figures for years. And that was the year that they went to 7 figures. And I'm sure there's multiple factors in there, but a part of it was like she couldn't micromanage as much as she was before, which I think is so hilarious and such a good demonstration. And I mean, this is really what we all want to be doing. We want to be that visionary CEO. At least most of the people that I come into contact, they want to have this high level vision of their business and being the creative and not worrying about everything. So this is your permission. And we want to be doing these same 2 things at the same time, right? We want to be empowering our business to like get out of our basement. At the same time, we need to be elevating ourselves into the visionary CEO role. And really around, not being the most overworked employee in your business. And we do want to be doing those 2 things in order to do that is like, okay, stop micromanaging, stop being that manager. You're not supposed to be the manager. Hire someone else to manage your business for you. That's a part of it. But I mean, so much with systems and team is around, and I mean, going back to desires too, even, is looking at resistance that you have. So when you are thinking about the tasks that you have to do, and you're thinking about hiring more people in your team or your first person in your team, you handing over the things that drain you are going to give you so much more time back. And I mean, before we hand anything over, we have to ask, like, is this actually necessary? We always delete before we delegate, friends.
Yep.
Delete before we delegate. But handing that over, and then suddenly we have less of this resistant energy just within ourselves in regards to our business. And anyone who has put off responding to an email for 2 weeks and then you actually get around to it and it took you 5 minutes, there's a lot of tasks like this, right? Like, oh, I had to write this email, and you're just resisting it and you're resisting it, and it like took you 10 minutes or 30 minutes even, and it was something that you were resisting. If you can free up all of that energy, it is going to completely free you, because a lot of us are just filling our time with resistance when it doesn't have to be the case.
That is so good. I'm writing that down too. Like the filling the time with resistance, because I have noticed that pop up for me a lot. I like when you talked about the 2 CEOs, I'm like, oh, definitely much more like the manager side. It's not like I got some work to do here. kind of envy the visionaries, the people that are like naturally visionaries. But for those of us who feel like we are like still kind of in that manager, is it like a mindset shift, or are we born? Like, are certain people born visionaries and certain people like born managers? I've heard people kind of on both ends of the spectrum where it's like, oh yeah, you're a visionary, you're a born leader, you know, and others of us who may tend towards management. Yeah.
I'm sure it is like a personality trait kind of thing, or like are born that way. But if you want, so if you're like, well, okay, I'm more inclined to be a manager, but I'm realizing it's actually best for my business to be that visionary, then you just have to stop. You just have to learn how to not do it, right? And so another thing with creatives, or I mean entrepreneurs in general, we tend to create more work for ourselves because I don't know, there's like often this excess of energy, right? Do you resonate with that? You have this like excess of energy. Yeah. You actually need to start finding projects outside of your business. Maybe you need to start a second business. Maybe you need to start a garden. Maybe you need to take up a new hobby. Like, we often need this other outlet outside of our business to like let out this energy. Otherwise, you can break your business. when things are going well, but you still want to tinker because you like have the, like, like, oh, I have this idea, when like it's just this excess energy. Like, you want to channel that somewhere else often.
That's a good point. And I think just reminding us too, I think sometimes we almost feel like we need permission to have a hobby or something outside of our business. Like kind of going back to what you were saying about your business being your baby. Like, we feel like, oh, well, it needs us touching it in all these ways. It needs me, not anybody else. You know, I can't send it to school. Nobody else can touch it, just me. So I think it is almost like that viewing it from that detachment, like, okay, there's a time for it to be very attached to you as you're figuring things out. And then knowing when it's time to say, okay, I'm sending my kid to school now, or now my kid is a little more autonomous. He's in like middle school or high school, and now he's going off to college. You know, so I think just being there for our business, and I really like that analogy, kind of seeing our business through that lens and just helping it progress and really get to that next level, because that's what we're all looking for as business owners, getting it to the next level. Yeah. Well, this has been awesome, Sam. Like, I've really enjoyed this conversation. I'm like, there's so many other questions I want to ask, but I know we have to be cognizant of time. Can you let people know, where can they find out more about you? I know I like your Instagram. So if you want to share your Instagram or your website or any other resources that would be helpful for people who would like to connect with you after this, that would be great.
Yes. So the website is thedirtyalchemy.com. I have a podcast called Business as a Magical Practice. So you can find that anywhere podcasts exist. We're on Instagram, The Dirty Alchemy. Pretty much anywhere it's The Dirty Alchemy. And we do have a free gift if you I should have looked up the title beforehand, but I forgot. It's a tongue twister. But it is something along the lines of the 5 secrets of a money-making sales page that get your clients sold on your offer fast. So that's a free guide. A lot of people have downloaded it and used it directly on their sales page. It's pretty epic. And you can just get that at learn.thedirtyalchemy.com/spellbinding. So learn.thedirtyalchemy.com/spellbinding. Another tongue twister. So I probably need to shorten that URL, but here we are.
Good. I will definitely put the links in the show notes for those people who want it. So whether you're listening on the podcast or whether you're watching this live, it will be right below this post. So you will have access to all of those wonderful goodies. So thank you again so much, Sam, for being with us today. And I guess we will leave it there and hope to have you back. I think there's some other aspects I'd like to dig into with like spirituality and stuff in a future episode.
I'd love to.
Awesome. Very cool. All right. Bye, everyone.
Bye, everyone. Thank you, Mindy.